Today we're going to change over the wiring on this X-Power winch so that we can put it on our multi-mount winch carrier. To start this process, we had to remove the synthetic rope from the winch. So we'll go ahead and start the process to change the wiring on this winch now. First step is going to be to lay the winch on its back side and then remove the 4 bolts on the underside of the control pack that's securing it to the top of the winch. Okay, we had to roll the winch to the front side so we could get access to the screws that were on the bottom side of the control pack in the back side of the winch. So now that we went ahead and took the 4 screws out, we've laid the control pack down on its top side. What we need to do is we need to pull out the power cable, the red cable going into the control pack right there, and change it for the quick connect cable, which is this guy right here. So, and you can see it's got a red insulation on the wire that goes to the red terminal in the control pack. So the next step is to take out the 2 T25 screws that are holding the contactor into the control pack. So we will need a 13mm socket to remove the nut that's holding the red cable to the contactor. We'll need a pair of wire cutters to cut the wire tie that may be securing the power leads together when they go on the inside of the winch. With the bolt removed, we just lifted the cable right off the stud. To make sure that we weren't going to have any fit problems, we went ahead and bent the end of the new power cable to a 90-degree angle to match the original cable. So when you go ahead, before you put the nut back on to secure the cable down there, make sure you put the 2 small wires. There's 2 ring terminals right there. 2 small ring terminal wires or eyelet terminals that came off. Make sure you put those on before you put the nut back on.
Yeah, where do you cut those?
So there's the terminal or the wire now back on the terminal, and the nut is tight. Make sure you put the lock washer back on as well so that the wire and the nut stay tight. Now we've put the contactor back in. Use the T25 screws and tighten all that down. So now the control pack is ready to go back on the winch. Now that we have our control pack reinstalled with the 4 screws, we need to come around to the back side of the winch, and you need to remove the ground cable from that stud right there. There's a small wire, this little small wire right over here that's going to the ground to the contactor. That has to go back on when the wire is changed. Okay, so we've pulled the original cable off, and now we're just going to tighten up that nut right there. The small ground wire for the contactor is already underneath that cable. So just make sure you get that good and tight, but don't over tighten it because it is brass. So now our quick connect power cable is on the winch and ready for us to install the wiring on the truck. Okay, to make it easier to install the mount, we just turn the winch upside down so we can easily get to the mounting bolts. Now we just place the multi-mount winch frame over the top of the winch and we'll install the screws. We've installed the screws loosely. Be sure to use the security screws that were provided with the winch. There's also a key that takes a 16mm wrench to tighten all the bolts. Okay, so now that we have the winch securely bolted to the winch mounting plate, we're going to go ahead and reinstall the rope. You can either do this right now, or you can do it after the winch is put on the vehicle. Probably best is to put it on the vehicle, but we wanted to just do this part of the video right now so you can see how to attach the end of the rope to the winch drum. So you just put the rope anchor into the center of the rope. The screw's already in the rope anchor. You have to get in there with an Allen wrench and then just tighten it back down. Make sure that the rope loops through the fair lead underneath the drum, comes back over the top, and then is pulled down tight. And then make sure you tighten that screw right there that holds the anchor in place. Then once you have power to the winch from the vehicle, then you can go ahead and spool all the rope back on. Make sure you put a little bit of tension on the rope when you spool it back on to make sure it winds nice and neatly. So that's it. We'll show you the part where we're putting the where we put the power cable in the truck, and then when we activate the winch. Okay, so now we've finished the quick connect cable wiring on this Dodge truck. So we've connected to the battery posts up here. And then if you come around underneath the bumper, we've attached to our front receiver. So we've got our quick connect cables attached right there on the front receiver, so we can plug in the cable and disconnect. So now we've already hooked up the remote to the winch, so we have power now. So now we've powered the winch around till the hole for the rope anchor is close to the front of the winch, so we can reinstall the rope. So now we've got the rope anchor in place and the screws in and started, so now we're just tightening it down. Make sure to run the rope over the top of the drum, underneath it from the back, and then out the fair lead. Okay, so now we've got the rope started on the drum. So we'll just go ahead and power it in. Make sure that when you power the rope onto the drum that you're wearing gloves, and then you'll need to put some tension on it. It's best if you can go ahead and anchor the rope somewhere. So we're at now, we're just going to go ahead and wind it onto the drum, and then we can go ahead and re-stretch the rope later on. So that concludes the installation of our Quick Connect and our multi-mounted winch.